Welcome in, everybody. Happy to have you guys back on DMW Sports. We are officially within week one of the NFL season here on Labor Day. Appreciate you guys for stopping in. We are back here for the number 16 team on my power rankings, the Pittsburgh Steelers, now with Aaron Rodgers leading the franchise, new wide receiver one in DK Metcalf, and of course, TJ Watt, and the mainstay of what has been this defense under Mike Tomlin in that tenure as well. So, let's talk about the team direction. I think that the great best way to put this is that they have been on the treadmill of darkness. Given the fact that their new quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. It's the reality of not having a franchise quarterback in the National Football League. It's very difficult to move yourself above that, and it's sometimes very difficult when you have the consistent success that they are. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season because of his ability to coach up this defense and get his team moving in the right direction, even without having really good quarterback play. Has continued to say that we're not bad enough to go and take another quarterback in the draft. And so as a result, they have been here. We're the borderline payoff team, not necessarily getting all the way up there as far as winning the division. The last few years, as far as recent memory is concerned, ever since Big Ben really retired, and even then, obviously his last year they lost in the first round of the playoffs in the wild card round. So there are some aspects of, can this team find a way to elevate it beyond it, or are they going to go below it? And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is the latest quarterback to try and take them above it. After the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields experiment of last season. So as far as the head coach in the front office, I think Tomlin, again, one of the best head coaches in the National Football League. I know people maybe not feeling that way. Easily top 10 for me. I got him at an A- grade. Sure, you can have question marks as far as the offensive scheme is concerned, and maybe some things as far as being able to elevate the entire team. But I do truly feel like he gets his team every single year to stay into every single game. He gets the defense rolling. He understands how to get a team to pull in the right direction, and ultimately gets a team that, in my opinion, has sometimes losing season level talent to continue to be within the playoff race, and there is value in that. And I think that is indicative of him being a really good head coach in the National Football League. Front office has done a solid job. I think trying to transition out of this, kind of malaise, it has been a struggle for them, certainly. That's why I give them a B plus, but they've drafted really well, really on both sides of the ball. The question has been, hey, can you find that next quarterback? And they simply have it. Obviously, the Kenny Pickett pick, in my opinion, really stands out as a sore spot. They took the hometown kid and hoped that it would work out, and it certainly did. Just he never really was that level of prospect, and they wasted time from that. A lot of people had them pegged for a quarterback in this draft, Mr. Shooter Sanders. Ended up not coming to pass. They ended up going with somebody that I think was a top 15 talent in DERRICK HARMON instead. And so we'll see how it ends up working out with Aaron Rodgers. And this is certainly a big move as far as this offseason is concerned. So let's go ahead and talk about what that ends up meaning for the Pittsburgh Steelers this upcoming year. So now we have the offseason review for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you see a lot of subtractions, a lot of additions, and then some draft picks in addition. So let's talk about it. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, both started games for this team last year. Fields moves on to the Jets. Russell Wilson moves on to the Giants. Ultimately, they had done the flirting back and forth for Aaron Rodgers the entire the offseason, and that's where it landed. And it always felt like both those quarterbacks were probably going to end up being one-year stays. Maybe they wanted to keep Fields around, but ultimately the fact that they kind of drug their feet on it, he looked to get he looked to find greener pastures elsewhere, no pun intended, with the Jets. Najee Harris came in, been able to be a consistent back for them. He's been fine, a competent starting back. Also moves on to Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, the big trade of George Pickens to the Cowboys for some good draft capital. Dan Moore Jr. gets a massive deal from the Tennessee Titans to leave in free agency. James Daniels, who's consistently been a guard starter for them, ends up moving on as well. Larry Ogunjobi along the defensive line also moves on. The Minka Fitzpatrick trade back to the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about that in that addition section as well, as it pertains to going out and getting Jalen Ramsey. And Van Jefferson, Elena Roberts also move on, wide receiver and linebacker depth. So, like I said, additions. Did the whole Aaron Rodgers flirting thing, brought him in to be the quarterback this upcoming season. And we'll talk about him a lot, plenty. DK Metcalf, we'll talk about him as well a little bit later on. I like what he brings to the table, specifically in trying to pair with Aaron Rodgers. Can they get on the same page as far as the timing is concerned? He's never been, that kind of a polished route runner. That's going to be the real question mark as far as the synergy between those two guys. Darius Slay brought over from the Eagles after winning championship with them, ultimately to add some cornerback starting ability. Malik Harrison as well, adding to that defense. Mason Rudolph, backup quarterback. Kenneth Gainwell adding to the backup running back room. And then Juan Thornhill also adding safety depth for this team. And again, Jalen Ramsey, who we'll talk about later on as well, added in the Minka Fitzpatrick trade, as was JONNU Smith over from Miami, who I thought was actually played very well for the Dolphins. Actually, gave them a different look than they really had a lot of last season. And so I'm interested to see how exactly Arthur Smith uses JONNU within this offense. And then as far as the 2025 NFL draft for the Steelers, Derrick Harmon, Caleb Johnson, two guys that they hope to make an impact. Harmon unfortunately had an injury kind of to start off training camp. We'll see how he continues to try and work back from that. Caleb Johnson, running back, interesting pairing with him and Jalen Royal or Warren. Maybe how much does he get off to a fast start and fit into what Aaron Rodgers wants out of his running back compared to what Arthur Smith wants out of his running back? But to me, a question mark. Jack Sawyer coming off the edge immediately should be a day one really good run stuffer. As far as the defensive end room is concerned, Yaha Black also adding to that defensive line. And then Will Howard, the quarterback out of Ohio State, to add to the quarterback room as well. So with that being said, as far as the expectations for this team and kind of the additions and things that they've done, I have no way around this. I know that I just said that they've been on the treadmill of darkness for a few years now. They continue to be kind of the wild card exit or just miss the playoffs with a winning record type of team. But you're going in for Aaron Rodgers. You're making the trade for DK Metcalf. You're getting Darius Slay. You're getting Jalen Ramsey. You're getting JONNU Smith. These are, hey, we want to be a team that can win a playoff game type of moves, and I have to hold you to that standard accordingly, especially given that you have the veteran quarterback and veteran coach combination. So I think the standard for the Steelers this year should be to win a playoff game. With that, so look, Aaron Rodgers comes in at 21 as far as my quarterback rankings, and that still puts him at an average competent starter in the National Football League. And I want to make it clear, like, he's not a bad quarterback by any means. Things did not necessarily work out for the Jets. Obviously, the Achilles injury was a major piece of that. He still has good arm talent. I wouldn't say it's obviously prime Aaron Rodgers arm talent, but his accuracy is certainly still there, and he still has the ability to beat defenses with his mind. That being said, of course, there is issues with him being more of a statue in the pocket. He can move a little bit, but nothing too much. These types of plays that you're going to see here, though, are the play action intermediate throws that I think he is going to be asked to make a lot, given the fact that Arthur Smith's offense is really based off of the run game being able to set up the pass game. And so is he going to be comfortable getting under center like you see on some of these throws? Then that's going to be a major piece of it. I think that he's going to be asked to do it, getting out of heavy personnel sets, being able to do a little bit of the boot action as well, getting into some of these flood concepts. If he's able to do that consistently, then the Steelers have a chance to have a solid enough offense to be able to move the football. If he is a little bit more limited in that role, then it's going to be a question mark. There were some questions of if he was comfortable turning his back to a defense and in a traditional play action set with his time with the Jets. And look, the reality situation is secondarily, he doesn't have Devontae Adams, who is still one of the top 15 wide receivers in the National Football League. That guy understands his timing innately and to a special level, and he is a polished route runner as well to make sure that he is on time as far as that is concerned. DK Metcalf has not necessarily been that player, so that's going to be a major question mark of if that synergy does come to pass. That being said, I think Rodgers can have a competent season for him, and ultimately, with the offense around him, can move the football. So let's go ahead and look at that roster. So, as far as this roster is concerned, I think that you have to start in the offensive line because there's been a lot of movement here. Like I said, they lost James Daniels, they lost Dan Moore Jr., and now it's a young tackle duo of Broderick Jones and Troy Fontenot. I think the fact that Troy is moving over to right tackle will help him. Lad struggled a little bit that left tackle position last year as well. Isaac Selmadu comes over, Zach Frazier as well, and Mason McCormick bringing up that interior offensive line. That is going to be very telling, specifically in the run game, of where this offense ends up landing. They have to be able to move people up front to make Arthur Smith's offense work as far as that is concerned. Talk about the tight end position. Like I mentioned, Pat Freiermuth, JONNU Smith, Darnell Washington. That is a trio at tight end that makes a lot of sense for what Arthur Smith wants to do. a lot of 12, a lot of 13. Darnell Washington obviously is basically a second offensive or a third offensive tackle out there on a consistent basis. Pat Fryermuth can play in line, and Jonnu Smith can be your receiving threat that you can move around the formation and try and create mismatches. So I like that synergy as far as the tight end room and Arthur Smith's scheme is concerned. Running back room, like I talked about, Warren is more of the pass protector. The receiving back can do a little bit as far as on the ground, certainly as well. The veteran presence that Aaron Rodgers probably wants a little bit more at the quarter or at the running back position next to him in the backfield. Caleb Johnson is not experienced a pass pro coming from Iowa. He is a guy that is a patient runner, a good runner of the football, can catch a little bit, but again, a little bit inexperienced as well. How much does Rodgers want Caleb on the field, especially on money downs, is going to be something to watch early on. And Caleb is a little bit more of Arthur Smith's type of running back too. So that being said, then you get to the wide receiver room. It's thin early to say the least. DK Metcalf obviously is the headliner. They gave him a brand spanking new deal to come over and be the wide receiver one. I expect he's going to see a lot of volume from Aaron Rodgers this upcoming season. Roman Wilson, drafted last year in the third round out of Michigan, missed basically the entire season last year. Can he catch on and be a consistent secondary option for this team is going to be a big piece. Calvin Austin the third, a little bit of deep threat. Obviously, special teams can get up and down the field. Same thing for Ben Skarnick. It's a little bit more of the blocking wide receiver archetype. Can give you a little bit of things in the middle of the field too. Scotty Miller really just an outside burner too. So they're a little bit thin on the wide receivers as far as this team is concerned. With that being said, let's get to the defense. So the defense is always interesting as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers is concerned because it's usually the better side of the ball as well. And I know that Derrick Hartman has unfortunately suffered an MCL sprain in the last preseason game, and you hope that kid gets back. Like I talked about, he was a top 15 talent for me in the 2025 NFL draft, coming out of Oregon, incredible disruptor as far as the defensive line was concerned, and also has the ability to be solid and two gap a little bit if you so choose with his strength. Keanu Benton been a really good nose tackle for this team. Consistently, Cameron Hayward going through a little bit of contract dispute. Sounds like he's in line to still play. Shouldn't be an issue, but of course, been a mainstay on this defensive line. Been really good for a long time. Yaha Black adding a little bit to that depth as well. And then you talk about the edge rusher. This is still one of the best edge rushers in the National Football League. TJ Watt, easily still a great edge in the National Football League. Same thing. Alex Highsmith is one of the more underrated guys in the National Football League. Nick Herbig and Jack Sawyer provide a little bit of depth as far as that's concerned. I wouldn't be surprised if you see Jack reduced down inside a little bit more as well. We'll be interested to see what he is used as a chess piece on this defense too. Inside linebacker, Patrick Queen, more of the point and shoot linebacker as well. Peyton Wilson, somebody that I liked a lot coming out of Utah last year. Interesting to see can he really step up into that green dot role, because I think he has the potential to be. And then you talk about the cornerback room. Joey Porter Jr., the headliner, obviously, as the outside young guy. Darius Slade getting to be able to mentor Joey Porter Jr. a little bit, coming over from that Eagles Vic Fangio scheme is going to be a little bit interesting synergy as well. Jalen Ramsey is the versatile piece that I'll talk about a little bit later on, but slated now for the nickel, a little bit of safety role, some cornerback. Obviously, we'll see what ends up happening. And then Deshaun Elliott and Juan Thornhill, Chuck Clark, kind of the three safety rotation. Going to be interesting to see how well that safety kind of trio can play. Juan hasn't really gotten back to his form since his injury in Cleveland. So it's something to watch if that becomes a problem spot for this defense as well. So as far as the grades are concerned, the offense, I think it's a C plus. I think the defense is still a B level as far as that aspect. And you still expect there's some ways in which this coaching staff is going to be able to elevate these guys. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the breakouts. So I've got two breakout candidates, and again, Roman Wilson only has two professional catches, both of which were in a preseason game. Roman Wilson, again, out of Michigan, a little bit of a smaller stature guy, can run routes effectively on time, and I think that does give him a chance really to be able to give Aaron Rodgers a consistent second target to DK Metcalf, specifically inside working out of the slot especially. He's tough. He's no problem blocking as well. Obviously, he's not a guy that's going to be incredible as far as that is concerned due to their stature, but he is more than willing to stick his nose in there and dig some cornerbacks out and some linebackers if you ask him to, and insert too. So I like what Roman Wilson can bring to the table. If he can break out, it's going to be a big piece for what this offense can do. And then the secondary piece is Troy Fadnu. Like I said, struggled a little bit last year. I think the move to right tackle will help him some. So something to watch for how good this offense is. They need him and Jones to step up at the tackle position, given the interior offensive line changes that they've undergone as well. let's talk about what's got me excited for the 2025 Steelers. So the thing that's got me excited is a resurgence from Mr. Jalen Ramsey. I am very fascinated to see how he is used. Obviously, like they had him on the roster, kind of slotted into that nickel position, that star position. He's a versatile guy. Obviously, can still play outside, as you'll see on some of this tape. I wouldn't say he's the shutdown guy, obviously, that he once was, and certainly didn't show that in Miami. But the size which he plays with, the instincts in which he plays with, and the ball skills that he plays with still gives you the opportunity. If you want to play a little bit at safety and you don't feel great about what that safety room is looking like, you could do that. You want to play him at nickel and play him near the line of scrimmage and allow him to create havoc, especially versus the running game. He can do so as well. So that's a really big thing for me. How they choose to deploy Jalen Ramsey and him being a little bit renewed coming into the Steelers building, I think is going to be very fun to watch for this upcoming season. Let's get to my concern for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So my number one concern as far as what the upside for this offense is going to look like is the synergy between these two guys, Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith. I talked about some of the things in which Aaron Rodgers is not necessarily comfortable doing, turning his back to the defense and play action and being able to deliver the ball. Is he a little bit more willing to do that as far as what the team looks like? Because Aaron Rodgers has always been more of a, hey, spread it out, get the 5 wide, 4 wide at the most, or at least, and let me be able to diagnose the defense and operate off of that. That's never been Arthur Smith's, manual. He's always been more of a heavy personnel guy. Let's continue to protect the quarterback in the ways in which we can block things up and then create explosives off what the run game looks like. So the synergy between those two guys as veterans, obviously had the offensive coordinator and quarterback in this league, is going to be something that I'm really watching early on, and ultimately is going to determine how high the ceiling for this offense and really ultimately for this team ends up being. So that's got me a little bit concerned about the 2025 Steelers. So my hot take for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year is that TJ Watt is not a top 5 edge, and this sounds a little blasphemous. I understand, but I do think that Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons, also Nick Bosa are all guys that are better than him, and that's not, again, this is not to be disrespectful to TJ Watt. He is still an excellent edge in the National Football League. There's really no two ways around it. He still can create havoc, and he still has the ability to be solid against the run. I just think that there are some ways against the run that he does have some issues. He is a gambler, and there are ways in which teams can take advantage of it as well on a consistent basis. But as far as getting after the passer, still one of the best in the National Football League can do that. And again, I've talked about this in other videos. Edge is a really deep position in the National Football League. It's not the end of the world that he's not top 5 on my personal list, but that's just the way I view the position as well. And like I said, him and Alex Highsmith still form one of the best edge duos in the National Football League and absolutely give offensive lines issues, as you see, versus the Eagles, which is one of the best offensive lines in the National Football League. So that's my hot take. Let's go ahead and get to the predictions. Okay, so let's get to the prediction section. And as far as the bold prediction for the 2025 Steelers, it has to do with that man right here, or I should say right there. There we go. DK Metcalf. His career high is around 1,300 yards. I think they ends up setting a record as far as his career yards is concerned. I know it's brand new contract. People maybe think he's going to take it easy. I don't expect him to. I think that Aaron Rodgers actually in his veteran presence will unlock a little bit of an evolution for him to be a little bit better at the finer points of wide receiver play. And the fact that he really has to rely upon DK Metcalf on a consistent basis, given the rest of this wide receiver room, I think will being able to elevate his game from a volume perspective, at the very least, to a career high. So that's my bold prediction. As far as the record prediction for the Steelers, I know I said that the expectation should be to win a playoff game. I ultimately have them at 9-8 and missing the playoffs this upcoming season. And again, I'm not going to be blasphemous and predict that Tomlin has a losing season. I don't think that happens. I think Rodgers is enough on the offense for them to continue to be good enough there. Defense should be good enough. And again, they'll very much be in the playoff hunt and get over 500. Just how things I had working out, I don't have them there. So thank you guys so much for joining me on the Steelers preview today. Make sure you guys like this video. Watch the other ones, like them too. Subscribe to the channel. Like I said, DMW Sports here on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. And then also at Sports DMW on Instagram. Appreciate you guys so much. Have a great day.